of a design thinking playbook, it's really absolutely important that the entire team participates without any excuses. I'm glad that we could fix this in the meantime, but when we started off, there were some individuals that were so busy with stuff that we may have lost some momentum by afterwards really getting everybody onboarded in those kind of methodologies.
That's awesome. Thank you for the perspective there. I'm going to do a reverse question. So this question is actually going to come from the audience. They just don't know it yet. So I'm launching a second poll, and on the screen, the question is, if you only could choose two, and I know it may be difficult, Henrik is looking there and saying, oh gosh, it's all of them again, but you have to choose two. What would you say are your biggest blockers preventing the adoption of digital tools at your organization? And Henrik, what I want to do with this is, as we collect people's responses, we'll have you create an idea or a technique to potentially counteract or address that particular issue. I thought this was an interesting way, without having to give everybody a chance to speak, the chance for their voice and their question to be heard. So let's keep this poll up for another 15 seconds. We'll get all of our responses in. We're seeing culture resistant to change. Can you imagine, Henrik? Quite a number of people are selecting that one. And secondly, and I'm not surprised, failure to prove ROI is another one that's popping up a lot. I think that the interesting comment I would make on failure to prove ROI is it's always difficult to prove ROI before you've done anything. It's always very tough, shockingly enough. So we'll give people 10 more seconds, get to the 1:30 mark. I'll close the poll. And Henrik, I think you can be processing an idea of, if culture is one of the biggest blockers for folks, which is the #1 answer we've received, what are some practical, tactical ideas that you, as a chief digitalization officer living in the environment, how have you seen strategies implemented to actually adjust the way the culture is actually dealing with digitalization?
Yeah, I think, first of all, it's really also a matter of how you communicate such a topic. So in the beginning of this session, we heard the word digital transformation, and indeed this is really a topic surrounded by confusion because it's such a big word. So my advice would be really to go away from these, let's say, big words, to nail it down to, let's say, more ask whether digital technologies could improve the way to generate value, or could change how you target the customer, and in the end could affect the value proposition and ultimately could help to differentiate from competition. And those 4 questions, that these are more, let's say, a matter of priorities. So there is no silver bullet, there is no blueprint how you come up with a, let's say, purely transformed organization afterwards. And as I said, to be very clear on specific jobs to be done, you have to avoid a situation that, and digital topics are obviously very fancy and super interesting, and sometimes you may experience such a thing like this shiny object syndrome, like small toddlers and children are easily distracted by, let's say, a multitude of toys available. And here indeed, digital tools are no toys. They serve a purpose.
Right.
And this purpose must translate to, and so we are, let's say, just in a classic technological advancement process. So basically, we simply try to adopt state of the art, and so it's not, let's say, a big mystery around this digital transformation. It's really an iterative way to try out new technologies, to establish a form of data thinking, to end up with better decisions. And that is, of course, a matter of change, and people hate change, no doubt about it. But if you And you have to be aware of, and that's of course a matter of technology acceptance. And so now, also due to this COVID-19 situation, we are now more and more used to work in, let's say, a virtual setup remotely. And all of us know sometimes Zoom is not working, sometimes the Teams is not working, and so on and so forth. So you have to be aware of the fact that in the end, you have to also work on this technology acceptance topic. And you can do this by providing guidance, by providing training, by let's say front runners illustrate the benefits of digital tools, for example, like Teams and all the other collaboration software services, or whiteboard, mural, whatsoever, to really also prove that there is a value by really utilizing digital tools in an intelligent manner. But it's not, let's say, a law of nature that digitalization will come, and it's just pure development.
Yeah, of course. And I will, maybe you can fact check me on my response to the second most popular answer. I got to give you the opportunity to do the first most popular, but I cannot help but think to myself that the nature of a resistant culture, especially a culture resistant to change, I really believe that the topic of ROI is highly connected to a company's openness to try things out. I think obviously there needs to be upfront planning. Obviously there needs to be, and Henrik, I think you really hit the nail on the head by saying digitalization is just a term. Helping your organization make better decisions is the real purpose of whatever we're doing, whether it's digital, whether it's physical, whether it's infrastructure, whatever the case might be. And at least for us, you know, that's something that we frequently see, that the failure to prove ROI tends to come from the topic of leadership doesn't want to change, or people don't want to change. So it's very difficult. Chicken or the egg problem comes up. Any agreed, accurate, or any comments that
Absolutely.
you have?
Plus, of course, in our industry, we are pretty successful in what we are doing. And of course, also success is really also a very serious enemy to any kind of change.
Yeah,
but it's a success of the past, and we are talking about the future.
Absolutely.
And this is, let's say, you should be aware of.
Yeah, I'm with you. I always say something that I think to myself, and I share a lot, is I still think, and of course we are believers that the moment is coming, or even is here, but the chemical industry by and large has not had their blockbuster moment where Netflix starts streaming videos and the business model is directly under threat, you know. And I think that blockbuster moment is maybe the elephant in the room, or the people just say, well, I don't see Netflix, or I don't see Amazon. So now Amazon may be a different topic, because one day maybe they're doing something else, selling some other type of product at a cheaper price than your neighbor. Henrik, we have a question from the audience, which I thought is pretty relevant. And maybe there's a short answer to this, maybe there's a long answer, but I think it's relevant. And it's, how is Evonik, and I know you guys have initiatives with this, addressing the digital skills gap and training that people need to actually feel comfortable with this new digital post-COVID world?
Yeah. And of course, there is, let's say, a short and a long answer. The short answer is we are, first of all, absolutely aware of the fact that there are indeed skill and competency gaps. And we, of course, have implemented of countermeasures, starting off with, for example, a learning platform that provides easy access to let's say, everyone in the company, at least everyone who has also a digital workplace, to really learn about topics that are relevant in this regard. And I think this topic is indeed a topic that demands learning and further qualification, even for those professionals who feel 100% educated.
Yeah.
So this is indeed a topic we are aware of from the very beginning. And this also includes trainings on various IT tools. And in the past, this might be also a big mistake in corporate organizations, that we were just simply throwing digital tools over the fence and let people find out how to work with those. And here we even introduced a kind of hashtag, the hashtag enjoy IT, to provide services. And we have established also what we call an IT academy to really also provide the support to learn and educate yourself.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And I think that even when I was there, I mean, Evonik was really leaning into this notion of, and I think waking up to the idea that even the output of Evonik Digital becoming a separate, unique entity, it's like, okay, we're using Teams now. How do we train people on how to use Teams, right? Exactly. So that was really a core competence of the group because of necessity. The group needed to learn how to use these tools. But I think you guys really leaned into the idea that we need to return this back to the core organization as well, and not just keep that learning for ourselves. And I think anybody that's interested to check out Thomas Vessel, the Chief Human Resources Officer of Evonik, is a really big proponent of digital in the workplace, and that digitalization is really a people topic. So I think training your people, I can only say it's really hard to get people on board with what you're trying to do if they don't feel comfortable with the tools that you're giving them, right? So fully appreciate that. Henrik, we're gonna make this about 5 minutes longer. We have a number of questions coming in. Oh, wow. People are contributing and dropping some knowledge here. I think it's excellent. Someone asked the question, and I know that the topic of Coatino is something that is near and dear to your heart, something that you obviously, coming from a fluid dynamics and a rheology background, you are saying, hey, I know a thing or two about coatings and the way that materials move in a fluid state. Someone asked the question about Coatino, and I think maybe to make it slightly broader than just those people focused on coatings, how do you perceive AI, I'm using this in air quotes, right? Whatever that means, playing a role in ingredient selection in the future? Coatino is just an example, right? A virtual assistant powered by Alexa, but I'd love to get, and I think the audience would love to hear the role that you see ingredient selection becoming more of a topic in the future.
Yeah, this is clearly, I think, one big to also fully exploit the knowledge you have in your folders in the company, and to make it available to the customers. And so in this regard, I think we will see also a range of recommender systems, and those recommender systems, they will clearly take advantage of AI, for example, in form of machine learning algorithms, or even, and this is in my view really the future, automated machine learning. So in a way, an autopilot for AI, for real world problems. And here, I think indeed, this is all about to take advantage of the data you have. And everything, of course, starts with, let's say, a data-centric thinking approach. And Coatino, of course, has the fancy, let's say, voice interface. If this is really 100% must, this is another question. But obviously, it really also attracts our customers.
Yeah, people often misinterpret, and I have to say, you know, Evonik isn't alone in this, but I can only compliment Evonik because I'm on the phone with Evonik right now. I think Evonik has really understood that for your business model, it's not all about Coatino being a $100 million revenue generator tomorrow. it's about people buying more coating additives from Evonik. And that alone could be a new business generator for the organization. And I think that goes for 1-2-Chem. I think that goes for precision livestock farming. It's drawing more attention using digital tools to the core business. And that's what any company should be trying to do, right? Alchemy to Evonik. How do I get people to buy?
Make it easier for the customer, for the user.
Right. How do I make it easier for them to know what we are really good at? And if Coatino is the thing, then great. Henrik, I think the thing that folks are obviously interested in is your opinion on this, but I think in the vein of collaboration and participation, and I know, and I'm really sorry to those people that cannot see the polls that I'm launching. So I've gotten a number of responses that people cannot see these, but we are getting 30 or 40 responses on each. So I'm going to go with our last one. And Henrik, you get to participate in this as well. It's where is digital going to make the largest impact in the world of material science? You can pick two, please, only two. And obviously these may be very difficult to rank, but I for sure am very interested in. Henrik, obviously you can put some words to the answers that you're putting down, right? The two areas that you feel are going to be highly interesting or really impactful for the material science industry going forward. Any thoughts on the options that you feel are most prominently value add?
I think impact-wise, it is really R&D and innovation, because there is really the chance to disrupt, let's say, classic development processes. For example, by bringing in AI technologies, by better exploiting the data you already have at your hands, to interconnect those data with data coming from other sources, be it public sources, be it even sources that basically also carry information coming from the entire network. And this is, in my view, clearly it's a future topic because the development and materials development is really a complicated subject. But nevertheless, here I clearly see that digital tools and in particular AI technologies will definitely bring it to the next level.
Well, you didn't choose that one for me, but I couldn't agree more. Yeah, we tend to think so as well over here. We think that AI is going to have AI at the end of the channel is going to have a really big impact, but the way that organizations collect, organize, process their data, be it business data, process data, people data, or product data, is going to matter a lot. And I think people forget that the reason Bayer and Evonik and all these other companies is so large is because they created material innovations that happen to solve a massive market need and continue to do so. So we should never forget that these companies are founded on material innovation, and that will probably be the thing that continues to differentiate them from either existing peers or future competition.
Yeah.
Henrik, I'd love to give you a chance. If you have any parting thoughts, we've run the course of our conversation. Obviously, we want to keep these pithy and packaged nicely. For those that don't know, I have to give a big compliment. Henrik actually joined us from the hospital today. He's totally safe. Everything is fine. But I can only say so many thanks for agreeing, even when you thought you'd be at home. But certainly from the hospital. Any parting words or thoughts?
Yeah, actually, perhaps one final thought or tip, and this also refers to this ROI topic. You may check out effectuation.org. This is really a very nice site that illustrates a very interesting logical framework for entrepreneurial thinking that indeed addresses this issue of what can we do without a solid, fully fledged business case.
Excellent. I'll be sure to everyone on the line, and likely to the folks that weren't able to join, I'll be sure to link that in the follow-up for everybody. So of course, expect a follow-up from our side with some of the key takeaways, as well as the poll results and Henrik's replies to the questions, quote unquote, that you asked. Again, we appreciate you being a part of Formulating with Courage. For those that attended, be on the lookout for the next leading material science company that's going to be joining us in a few weeks. Announcement to come on that in the short while. But Henrik, for now, I really have to say many, many thanks. Vielen, vielen Dank. Und I'm very happy to have had you, and honestly, very practical insight and advice for people out there that are trying to figure out how to leverage these digital topics. So really thank you for the insight and sharing the knowledge.
It's a pleasure. It was really fun. And for all of you, stay safe and sound.
Absolut. Bleibt gesund.
Exactly. Bye
Ciao.
bye.
Thank you so much, Henrik. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.